Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here for a movie that I love so much. Of course, I love horror. It's like my favorite genre of movies, and this is a film starring one of my favorite actors, Kevin Bacon, in a film that's directed by David Koepp, who is the writer of Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi first movie. He also wrote Jurassic Park. He worked on a lot of things, including Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, so he can be hit or miss, but I think personally he's one of the very few screenwriters who ended up doing directing well that is a really good director, even though he can be hit or miss on writing or directing. I love this particular movie. It came out in 1999. It's about an hour and 39 minutes according to IMDb. And this movie is based on a Richard Matheson book, who is the guy who brought us I Am Legend. He also got us Hell House, which eventually became a movie from the 70s called The Legend of Hell House. I love Richard Matheson, incredible writer, but I think this movie actually took his book and made it way better than the book actually was. It's a satisfying book, it's an okay read, but this was better, and this movie is called Stir of Echoes. And again, it's starring Kevin Bacon. I love him, he's fantastic here. Essentially, Kevin Bacon and his wife, I think they live in New York or Detroit or something, I think it's New York though. They go to a party, a block party locally, and they're kind of friends with all their neighbors and stuff in this area. Everybody's pretty involved in each other's lives. But anyway, they go to a party, and his sister-in-law, the wife's sister, actually is into hypnotherapy, and she puts him under some kind of trance in front of everybody as like a party game, basically. And when she does that, she happens to tinker around in his head somehow, some way, and open a door that eventually turns into some kind of mystery involving a ghost girl that seems to be haunting Kevin Bacon and his family and their house. And it turns out, apparently, his son is also kind of mildly psychic, and Kevin Bacon never was until this incident happened. So they begin to connect more as father and son over this situation, whereas the poor mom, who I don't know who plays her, but she is fine. She is kind of having to experience all of this situation with this mystery going on from the outside. And Kevin Bacon will see visions, he'll see ghosts, he'll see this girl floating around in his house and whatever. And it's kind of eerie sometimes. There are moments where the wife, who doesn't see any of these things, can be just going into the basement and we'll see like the ghost girl, but she doesn't. But the imagery itself is kind of creepy. This movie has such a great atmosphere. I would argue personally, I think it's the best adaptation of a Richard Matheson story ever, despite all of the things he wrote for like The Twilight Zone and Star Trek. I think he wrote on both of those. I know for sure Twilight Zone, but I think he wrote for Star Trek as well, if I remember correctly. Anyway, he was a great genre writer, love the guy. This story, like I said, was heavily improved for this movie adaptation. It's creepy, the atmosphere is wonderful, I love the shots of it. Just the cinematography mixed in with the directing style, the camera work. David Koepp killed it. He did an absolutely amazing job with this. I love everything about it. I think he also wrote this movie too, if I remember correctly. Again, probably his best work in my opinion. I love Jurassic Park, I love Spider-Man. I don't know if I like this more than Spider-Man, but I kind of feel that way sometimes. Every time I watch it, it gets better and better. Now, one thing I love too about Kevin Bacon is that every time he has a vision, he gets dehydrated and he wants a lot of liquids and water, and eventually he begins to drink tons and tons and tons of orange juice, and that is absolutely hilarious to watch because he just, at one point his wife comes home with groceries after she knows how weird things are going with Kevin Bacon and how their marriage is getting a little strained with how wild and wacky he's beginning to act. And not in a comedic way either, kind of in a schizo way, if you will. She comes home with the groceries, goes to the fridge to load them up, opens the fridge, and the entire thing from top to bottom is filled with orange juice because he's having visions so frequently, he's not really eating or anything. That stuff is super fun. I loved it. I thought it was such a good time. It has a lot of good humor, mixed in with a really creepy-ass movie that has some great atmosphere, as I said, that really works for the location. A lot of the time when you have a movie, it's a horror film on top of that and a ghost movie taking place in a very populated film with a lot of people, a lot of noise from outside because of where they live, so on and so on. You kind of don't expect it to actually be creepy or scary, but this movie manages to pull that off anyway. It works so well, the sound design is good when things are utilized within the sound. The soundtrack, I think, is really effective and good. It has kind of a theme song that I do like as well. I love the movie. I think it's so well written. I think all of these characters are well written. I think everybody's well performed. Kevin Bacon is so good here in this situation, trying to solve whatever this mystery may be that's brought to him through these visions and whatever. I really like it. It's one of the only films involving, trance and hypnotherapy and all of that. Really, I mean, if you think about it, how many movies actually utilize that as a plot point or kind of the concept of the movie? Not really many. It's kind of like witches. You don't really see a lot of movies about witches. Maybe one here and there that's pretty popular, like Hocus Pocus or The Witch, but you don't really see a tremendous amount, to be honest. And that's kind of the situation with this hypnotherapy thing. I think it's excellent. I recommend it highly if you haven't seen Stir of Echoes. It's such a good, hidden gem, underrated watch. And the only reason I ever knew about this movie was because I was like 15, 16, 17 years old. My mom randomly recommended this movie to me, and it was sitting on our shelves on VHS, and I had never watched it. I'd watched the majority of movies on those shelves at my mom's house. And she told me like one night when I was bored, hey, you should watch this. It's a Friday or Saturday, whatever. I had nothing better to do. And I watched it, and I was so in love with it. I think I watched it once a week after that for like 2 months, dude, because it was so perfect. And it feels like this time of the year, this fall setting. The movie's not entirely looking like a fall movie, but just the color schemes, the cinematography, it feels like a very fall-like movie. This is so perfect for the Halloween season if you haven't seen it. It's a great watch for that. It's not cheap with just jump scares and shit over and over again. It's so incredibly well made. I would love to look up the budget on this thing just to see what they had to do to make this, because I don't think it was cheap probably, but dude, it doesn't feel like a massively budgeted boring-ass Conjuring movie. It's really cool. It doesn't feel like a factory movie, if you will. I love this. I recommend it so highly. Mom, thank you all those years ago for the recommendation on this, because if she knows, I pretty much watch this every year. Like every fall, I try to get around to watching this again. Because of how effective and good it is, I think everybody's great. And like I said, the performances are all amazing. I forgot to mention the kid playing the son, who was also kind of psychic. He's really good here. Everybody really pulled through for a movie that I feel like modern day actors would think is beneath them, and they'd probably put like a really lackluster performance out there making this. But dude, it was so good. If I had to rate Stir of Echoes on a 5-star basis, obviously I recommend it so highly. I don't have any complaints about it. It's not like the sequel I'm about to review, Stir of Echoes 2, The Homecoming. It's so perfectly made as it is. It creeps me out. It keeps me engaged. I can't do anything while this movie is on the TV. I have to put my phone down and everything because of how absorbed I get into it. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, it's a 5 out of 5 stars. No questions asked. It's too damn good not to give it that. I recommend it. If you haven't seen it before, you are missing out on one of the best Kevin Bacon movies, if not the best. Fuck Footloose. Fuck, The Following TV show. Fuck all of that. This is the best Kevin Bacon thing ever. Easily. So check it out. Let me know what you think about it if you took my recommendation. Let me know all of that down to the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, guys, once again. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.